All right, so get your imagination cap on and picture this. You're all of a sudden just riding a nice smooth gravel road, but then you find yourself on some two-track that's rather rutted and rough, followed by a little bit of twisty single track that connects back to a rocky gravel roadbed via pavement. That sums up what a lot of bikepacking trips are all about. Mixed terrain. On a lot of trips, you just might not know what surfaces or conditions to expect. So that leads to the fundamental question, what handlebar best suits this mixed terrain bikepacking or dirt road touring? So you're probably yelling through your screen right now saying, Neil, it totally depends. All right, I get it. But I'll go a step further now and say, this is your only handlebar. Which would you choose? Many of you chimed in by sharing your thoughts in the survey we posted last week on BIKEPACKING.com. So in this video, we are going to dive deep into the flat versus drop bar conversation and share those survey results. Let's have some fun. If you find our videos useful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and thumbs up. And if you want to help support us a little bit more, consider joining the Bikepacking Collective, which is BIKEPACKING.com's annual membership. There's a link below with all of the information you need to know about the Bikepacking Collective. In short, the Bikepacking Collective not only helps support our YouTube channel, everything you see on BIKEPACKING.com, and the Bikepacking Journal, a print publication that is shipped to your door twice a year. So which is best? Well, the short answer is there is no definitive answer. However, most of our editors do prefer flat bars, and we will get into why in this video. Additionally, based on the survey, there was a winner, and we will reveal those results later on in this video. What are the differences between flat bars and drop bars? Flat bars are traditionally seen on mountain bikes because they place your hands towards the ends of the bars, which creates more leverage, resulting in greater control, especially over rougher terrain and at higher speeds. So while flat bars do traditionally have limited hand positions, you can be creative with different grips and bar ends, and there are some specific flat bars out there with multiple hand positions, such as the Jones H bar and Surly's Moloko bar. So talking about some characteristics within these flat bars that we see now, flat bars are not necessarily just flat and straight. They typically have a back sweep, an up sweep, as well as a rise. So the back sweep is basically the degree that the bar comes back towards you. The up sweep is the exact same thing, but just in a different direction. And the rise is from this axis to the amount that it rises up from basically the stem clamp. Another big characteristic is the width. This specifically is an 800 millimeter width bar. This is one of my favorite handlebars. This is just the Salsa Rustler bar. And this has an 11-degree back sweep, 6-degree up sweep, and a 20 millimeter rise in this 800 millimeter category. Drop bars, on the other hand, basically start out as a flat bar, but then drop down towards the ground at the end of the bar. Historically, this style of bar was developed for road racing because it puts you in a more aerodynamic position. But this style of bar has evolved tremendously over the last 7 or so years, giving riders more hand positions and increased stability. Compared to that flat bar where you really only have that one hand position, drop bars you have multiple. You're up here on the bar itself, you can be in the hoods, or even in the drops. So many of those flat bar characteristics that I talked about do transfer over to drop bars, but drop bars are a little bit more intricate. For instance, some drop bars do have back and up sweep or rise to it, but it's not nearly as common. What you do see is the flare right here, which is basically the degree that the bar drop actually flares out. Traditionally, we used to see drops just go straight down, but now these bars are developed for a little bit more stability. So when it flares out, you have a little bit more leverage. Another characteristic is the amount of drop. So basically this part of the bar, this can either be more shallow, maybe in the middle, kind of like this cow chipper here, or a little bit of a deeper drop. Similar to flat bars, the last characteristic is width. As you see here, I've got these two cow chippers. One of them is 440 millimeters. The back one here is 500 millimeters. So that definitely plays a big part. This 500 millimeter cow chipper is one of my favorites. It comes with 24 degrees of flare and 116 millimeters of drop. But just a little sneak peek at our survey results. The top performer, or the most popular width for drop bars, was 460. So bike packers and folks that are just in general on really long day rides seek comfort. So which one of these bars is most comfortable? Well, this is probably the most debatable conversation in this comparison. Drop bars do have more hand positions right off the bat. There's no denying that. However, most of these hand positions do require you to hunch over and put a little bit more pressure on your hands. Often the perfect sweep and rise can create the perfect upright position. That is not only easier on your wrists, but also takes pressure off your hands. Cass Gilbert actually did a really good job on our comfort bar gear index. So if you're interested in finding all of the comfort bars, many of them look just like this. You can do so by finding the link below or clicking the card right here. Mind you, there are a few other factors that determine the reach of your bike, and that is the stack and the stem angle or the stem length. These comfort bars, these alt bars, these ultra weird bars, I truly believe that these are a product of bike packing. Maybe not all of them, but much of them are, just to put you in a more comfortable position. But over the past few years, we've seen a lot of new adventure bikes from companies that really haven't launched them before with drop bars. And it seems that the industry thinks that adventure bikes are drop bar bikes. But again, your voice has been heard, and we'll find out more in the survey results at the end of this video. So while there are ways of manipulating the gear range on your specific bike, and we actually published a really detailed mullet drivetrain article, which is linked below, but almost all of the out-of-box components are specific to drop bars or flat bars. For bike packers, and I argue for most cyclists, having a wide gear range is helpful. It sets you up for the climbs, the descents, and all of that unknown terrain ahead. As we've mentioned numerous times on the website, we continue to see a lack of one-by gear range on drop bar specific drivetrains. But a wide gear range is pretty common on mountain bike drivetrains. So for folks that are riding all day long or bike packers, we're typically looking for more of a granny gear or an easier gear, that lower gear, which will help especially when you have a heavier bike or when your legs are extremely fatigued. Another major difference between these bars is the way you would shift your drivetrain. While drop bars can have multiple ways to shift, you have a lever, you can have a bar end shifter, and you can even install a trigger shifter on the top of the bar. Typically, we see bikes that are spec'd with drop bars just come with a lever like this. Trigger shifters, however, are just a little bit more practical because it gives you the ability to shift a little bit faster, putting you in a more efficient gear quicker. I think it's also easier on your hands, especially over multi-day bike packing trips. And while this might be a video in itself, electronic shifting has truly changed the way we think about shifting in general. Mechanical shifting is simply more challenging on your hands, whereas electronic shifting is much easier. All you have to do is use your pinky on a GRX or a simple click with your thumb on the axis. Because of the bar shape, braking is a big difference maker. Flat bar brakes give you more leverage and overall more stopping power, all while still being able to shift your bike while braking. Not only when you're in the drops, but also on the hoods, it's extremely challenging to brake and shift at the same time. And generally speaking, when you're in those drops and you're braking and you're descending challenging, chunky terrain, it's much more difficult than, say, a flat bar. Not to mention, most drop bar bikes are now coming with direct mount brakes, a new braking standard, which not only is more difficult to adjust, most of them are only 2-piston brakes, which are not nearly as strong as 4-piston brakes, and most of these brakes will not fit on suspension forks. So I tinker with my cockpit quite a bit. Well, that does not sound good. So I tinker with my handlebar setup quite a bit, especially with a new handlebar or new bar tape or a new lever position. So with drop bars, it is a lot more challenging to micro adjust your lever and your bar tape and what have you. Whereas flat bars, it's a lot easier. All you have to do is adjust your grips and adjust your brake and shifter levers. Most handlebars were not designed with bags in mind. So fitting a handlebar bag on both drop and flat bars can be a challenge. With flat bars, you get into that battle with your cable housing and those brake lines, and trying to figure out which line goes on the outside of the bag, which line gets scrunched up against the head tube, and oftentimes there is just no perfect way. And when mounting a bag to drop bars, it starts taking away hand positions, and it can even interrupt the way you use your drops. For the most part, I found that going with a wider bar in general and a bag that has a larger diameter but is shorter in width will definitely help alleviate all of those issues in the first place. We know that picking a single style of bar is just simply not easy, but also swapping from flat bars to drop bars is just not realistic. So hopefully these talking points in this video can help you make a decision on what style of bar works best for these mixed terrain adventures. So we are now going to share those survey results as well as what our favorite bars are here at BIKEPACKING.com. So starting with Logan. Logan does a lot of just multi-week trips, and he's done quite a bit of trips with flat bars and some with drop bars. He did a 10-day trip on drop bars back a few years ago, and he ended up coming away with that trip without the ability to use his thumbs. So he likes to stick with flat bars, and specifically, he really likes that Whiskey Millhouse flat bar. It's kind of this BMX flat bar. It comes with 16 degrees of back sweep, 8 degrees of up sweep, and is a 825 millimeter bar. Another bar that ticks all the boxes for Logan is that Hunter Smooth Move bar, although he does wish it came in a 800 millimeter width. Virginia mentions that one of her favorite bars is the SQ Labs 30 by 16, and that bar specifically comes with 16 degrees of back sweep. So Miles mentions that he likes the We Are One Composites Duh bar, which Duh bar comes with Duh package, which is a stem and handlebar combination. The bar itself is a carbon bar. It comes with 8 degrees of back sweep, 5 degrees of up sweep, and it comes with a variety of different rise options to suit your needs. And then Lucas really enjoys the Ritchie Venture Max XL bar. And that bar is a 520 millimeter aluminum bar. Bars itself come with a rather shallow drop, and the drop actually has a little divot in it for really nice ergonomics. The bar has 4.6 degrees of actual back sweep, which you don't really see too much back sweep on drop bars. And then it also comes with 24 degrees of flare, so the bar has some nice flare in the drops. And overall, that bar is really great, and I'm actually using that bar as well. And talking about my options, that would definitely be probably my favorite drop bar option out there. However, for me, I much prefer the flat bar. Specifically, this is the Salsa Wrestler that I mentioned before. Something in the range of 11 to 15 degrees of back sweep, 6 degrees of up sweep, a 20 millimeter rise, and I'm definitely going to pick a carbon bar in the 800 millimeter category. And while drop bars are great, I just don't have that sense of confidence going down really chunky terrain. And the Jones H bar or Surly Moloko bar, those are also great, but I find that those give me a little bit too much sweep, which end up hurting my hands over the long haul. Now talking about the survey results, we got 2,606 people that have participated in this survey. So thank you all so much for participating. To go back to the question I posed at the beginning of this video, which style of bar is best for mixed terrain riding? 53% of the folks that participated in this survey said that they prefer flat bars, over 47% with drop bars. For those folks that voted for flat bars, 780 millimeters was the most popular size with 34% of the vote, followed by that 760 millimeter width with 28% of the vote, 24% of the vote voting for 740 millimeter bars or smaller. And then the two slices of this pie chart were filled out by either 800 millimeter bars or greater than 800 millimeter bars. As far as drop bars are concerned, for folks that voted for drop bars, roughly 27% of you voted for that 460 millimeter width drop bar, followed by roughly 21% at 440 millimeters, 19% at 480 millimeters, 10% less than 420 millimeters, a little over 8% at 500 millimeters, and the remaining parts of that pie chart are either filled out by 520 millimeters or greater than 520 millimeters. Finally, just talking about material. Material is a big part of the bar's characteristics. It'll make your bar stiffer or more flexy. It will definitely make it heavier or lighter or dampen vibrations better. So 62% of folks voted for an aluminum handlebar, and that makes sense because most handlebars that come spec'd on bikes are aluminum, followed by 20.8 using carbon, 11.6 using steel, and the remaining using titanium. So if you didn't get the opportunity to fill out that survey, leave a comment in the comment section below with your ideal handlebar for these mixed terrain routes. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, pedal further.